Welcome to the Connectable Podcast.
The Connectable Podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
We don't have like a formal intro, so
We just started.
It just started. Hi, Lunden. I've known you forever, everyone. This is Lunden Souza, by the way, our guest for the Connectable Podcast.
Hey, London.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. How are you? I'm not great at intros, by the way. Josh usually does them, but you're my person.
I don't want to say anything, but this one started off dying.
I'm your person. Yeah, no big deal. Don't need an intro. I think we'll talk enough here and have a lot to talk about today to get enough of a insight into me, into us in this conversation here. But I'm super excited to be here. Yeah, I've known Deb forever, since kindergarten. So, and our birthdays are 2 days apart. So I'll never forget her birthday. I feel like I could have missed saying happy birthday over the years, but I just like you and then Mallory Bear, one of our friends we grew up with, she has a birthday right after my mom. So I feel like I just always think about you that time of year, and it's been a long time, but it doesn't feel that way. You know, we caught up at that wedding that the other, one of our friends got married. And so it was just like, no time has passed. You want to talk on the podcast? Sure. Let's do it.
Let's do it. London, I feel like you guys don't need me. I feel like you could take my job because that was like a perfect intro for yourself. So thank you for doing my job. I love it.
I didn't want to bring that up, but Deb's absolutely right, London. If you want to take her spot. In fact, last week on a different podcast, I offered her job up to someone else. So this is a common thing. So you just let me know if you're interested.
Cool. Yeah, I'll take in resumes. I'll turn it in. No, I definitely don't want to replace. I just might want to be up in here a little bit more often.
Yeah.
There we go. We can do that.
That was awesome. That's everything I seriously was going to say about you and introduce you and how we're connected and everything. So like London said, that's how London and I are connected. We always introduce how our guests or how we are connected with our guests, London, at the beginning. And yeah, I've known you since kindergarten. I mean, like enough said, we grew up together in Merced and went to the same elementary school, different middle school, same high school. And, you know, like I said, we don't talk every day out of the year, but we see each other and we're like, oh my God. And we just want to like hug each other. And I've just known you forever. You're London.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I mean, the London. So anyway, you guys, London, let me introduce what you do now to our guest. London is a lifestyle transformation coach and the host of the SelfLove Sweat, the podcast, which I love, by the way. I listen to it when I run. It's just, I love it. So I have some questions for you about all that. But London, I want to, I guess I want to just get right into it with, you have always been in the fitness world in terms of like, you grew up playing sports, like, you've done all these things. And then I want to know, I guess, tell our guests how, like, what inspired you to have a profession and stay in the fitness world? Because a lot of people play sports growing up. And it doesn't mean they don't have a love for sports or a love for fitness, but that's just not what they do as a profession. So in terms of, let us know just how you were inspired to do that and how you got started with the fitness profession.
Yeah, no, well said, because a lot of people play sports and are active, but that doesn't mean they make a career out of it. Right. So we did sports together, me and Deborah, growing up, and I was super active. And to be honest, like, I played, a variety of different sports, variety of different levels. I played competitive sports and stuff too. I wasn't like the greatest ever, but I was like pretty good, but I mostly did it because it was like social and it was fun. And like, we could always hang out and like, we were going to soccer tournaments on the weekends and softball things. And like, even though we played against each other in junior high and different stuff, it was always fun. Like, I know that there were some people we played with who got super like into it, and maybe even you too. I don't know what your experience was, but I was just kind of like, oh, we lost, like, let's go have pizza. I always thought it was really fun. So for me, I didn't go on to play sports then at a college level. So for me, it was just like, oh, I went to college. I just kind of like moved because I was used to moving, but I didn't really like work out because I didn't know that. I just knew like, swimming and running and playing softball and doing all the things all the time. And I think the logical, like, sequence to that is, I went to college. I like gained a bunch of weight. I ate like crap. I didn't sleep. I didn't take care of myself. And I was going to school actually for psychology. I wanted to be a criminal psychiatrist, a forensic psychiatrist. Like I wanted to work in prisons and interview serial killers. That was like my dream forever, if you can imagine. And so then I just got super into fitness and working out, just kind of along that college journey. I lived with a friend of mine who was a personal trainer. She was kind of in the fitness modeling kind of space, supplement world. And we did some fun, cool stuff together with some companies. And I just like fell in love with working out, started liking it, started liking the changes in my body, was kind of going to school, like I said, for psychology, didn't want to stop that. So I just finished my degree in psychology there with an emphasis on criminal justice. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do personal training school. It's like an online study. And I'm going to get like a few different certifications, and I'm just going to like start doing it because I like doing it. I like the changes I see in my body. I was doing stuff for my college classmates. Like we would work out together. We would go to run. We'd meet at the stairs. I was just kind of like that, the motivational person who was trying to get people like get moving and get sweating and stuff. And it also really helped me in school too, because I had a really great like coping mechanism. It was hard to be in school and like do all the things and try to, work and live and just like whatever. It was a very, just pivotal time in my life, transitional time. And so working out really, really helped a ton. So fell in love with it, started including my classmates, all the things, finished school, decided to get my personal training certification. And I was like, okay, I want to do this as my job. I really love doing it. I live in a space where people have personal trainers. This could be a really great opportunity, super fun. And then if I didn't, like it, then I'm like, okay, there's always going to be a lot of criminals. So I can always go back to school if I want to go back, So I just jumped in and I loved it. I just loved the way that physical or moving your physical body impacted like your emotions and your vibe. And it wasn't just really about what you were looking like. I started to, like the way I was looking and lost that kind of college 15, 25, whatever it was. And just started feeling really energized, really good. Fell in love with that as a profession, fell in love with moving the body, fell in love with inspiring people to do that too. And then I got really into writing about fitness. And so that's where the kind of the transition of making a career out of it was, because I started writing for our local newspaper from Merced Sunstar. I had a column called Life Like London. I was just like writing whatever, like my just, all the wisdom I had at 22, I was just letting the people have it. So I was just like, okay, I just love to write. I want to help people. I want to inspire. And I just want to kind of get the message out there. So that was kind of like the early blogging. Like I literally wrote for a physical newspaper that got thrown at people's, doorstep. Like that's what we did. And then they started, then they started printing it online. So that was the thing, like Merced Sunstar then had their online publication, and a guy from Merced who was like probably 20 years older than me, 15 years older than me, had a Google alert set in his email for fitness apps. And I wrote an article for the Merced Sunstar, just like London's favorite fitness apps, just like my top 5. Didn't mention this company, Runtastic. And then they reached out to me, and he got this Google alert from, he's like, what the heck is this girl in my hometown newspaper doing in my Google alerts, kind of divine, timing if you look at it. And he reached out to me and was like, hey, I saw you're writing for the newspaper. Do you want to guest blog for the Runtastic blog? Do you want to help us create content there? So I was like, yeah, sure. I like to write, I would love to be a part of this. That turned into a YouTube channel, that turned into moving to Austria and really creating like a full fitness brand and platform. And so it really started with just like I said, a desire. I just liked how I was feeling. I liked how it was an outlet for me. I wanted to help other people do it. And I liked the community. So just like I liked in sports, like being around people, it was like, oh, let's meet at the stairs. Like, let's go, run and sweat and like, then go get a juice afterwards. And like, I liked the community surrounding like movement and sports and health and fitness, because what I've learned now since being in a bunch of different countries, we could talk about this too, is like it knows no language. Like people can move and smile and sweat and it's fun. And it doesn't matter what you like or what your politics are. What is this? It's just like, we're all moving and having a good time. And for that 45 minutes to an hour, whatever it is, like it feels good and it is good. And we're in our bodies there. And so I just kind of, that's really like how it kind of slid in. And now it's a podcast and hanging out with you guys and working online with people from all over the world. So it's really cool.
That is awesome. I could totally see you
Awesome.
doing all that. By the way, London, Josh, London was always just like super upbeat, still is. And I could see you doing that, like being the, one to go out with your friends on the bleachers, like you were saying in college. I could totally see you doing that. I can't, London, like to me, you've always been fit. Like you've always been like athletic and like, gymnastics and all that stuff, like when we were little. And so in my mind, I'm like, how could she have I can't picture you gaining weight or like losing it or anything. But then again, we weren't close in the college era, you know what I'm saying? So like what was that like, just, kind of, I guess, losing a part of that and, being stressed, whatever you went through and bouncing back.
Yeah. No, I know and when I look at some of that past too, and I'll explain some of that too, it is kind of hard to like imagine, if you will, because I feel like I've always been just kind of like in shape, working out, whatever. But it was really, a journey too. And I learned a lot about like hormones and just kind of how working out too much, taking too many supplements, all those things can disrupt our hormones and things like that. So that was actually one of the causes and one of the reasons why I also, gained some weight and just kind of had some imbalances in my metabolism and things like that. So that journey for me was really powerful because I got into a space where I was like, oh, I need to do more going to school, more working out, more all the things. And that was really stressful on my body. And I had a lot of gut issues and things that developed from just prolonged birth control use and things like that. So for me, it was a huge journey that I just I wouldn't change for the world, because I learned so much about what it means to be a woman and what that looks like, and not trusting just what it's on a label. The fitness industry can be super sticky and super markety and super fishy and all the things. And we can slide right into a space of like, oh, you need to take this and you need to do this and you need to try this. And so, it was really kind of I got into, unhealthy habits, but was also super stressed. And then when I tried to like combat it in a not healthy way, like really extremes, and it was almost like, you kind of bounce back even further. And so it was, added weight, whatever, but it was also like added stress and added inflammation and just like added, a lot was going on inside of my body there. So, when I look back too, it was also not just the added weight gain, but it was also, I had a lot of acne, like my whole skin, my whole face was like, you wouldn't have recognized me. I had like hormonal cystic acne all over the place because of that too. And so it was really like a full transformation, not even just what I looked like, but also like what was going on my face, or let's say like what was happening, on my physical body and like weight wise, and then like what was, coming out on my skin there. And so it was, I don't know if that answers the question there, but it was just like, it was a full experience. And so I'm super grateful for it. I don't know if I have I'm sure I have some pictures somewhere of like, I don't know, like before, whatever. But for me, it was beyond even like the number, because, 15, 20 pounds and you're athletic and you have muscle and like whatever, it doesn't really like show off as like, I don't know, overweight, obese, whatever. But I just didn't like how I felt. I knew my body and my hormones were in complete disarray. I was trying to navigate like what fit and healthy kind of looked like there. But now looking back, like I wouldn't change it. Like that was an awesome, bumpy, messy, great roller coaster ride that is part of how I coach and why I coach and what I do today. So, I don't even have a picture to show you. So to imagine, I can't be like, you can't imagine it here. Look at this.
Yeah.
But it was definitely more of a mindset and just kind of, coming into what it meant to be me in an online space too, because I've shared all that in a bag of chips since I was like 17 online, That's another one.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned just the mind part of it, because as you said, you were kind of going down that road of studying psychology and criminal psychology, and obviously it's a little bit different, but the idea of psychology still being there. Like, how much of an impact did that have on both your journey when you were trying to get healthier, both emotionally and physically, and then also when you're coaching people who maybe are trying to get in better shape, but there's that piece of it that's also emotional, and like how much of that does it give you an upper hand when you're like coaching people, do you feel?
Yeah, I don't know if it gives me an upper hand. It's just definitely super, super interesting and important for me. And it's definitely an area that's, I was drawn to right from the beginning, because it's like, there's a lot of plans out there that work. It's not a matter of things like working or not working. The programming is there. It's spot on. There is science to back up a lot of plans. This many repetitions, you rest like this, there's progressive, like there, things work, right?
Sure.
Meal plans, you can be like, here, try this, works, right? So for me, it was more interesting, like, okay, if it's going to work regardless of if you do it, if you do it, it's going to work. So why are you not doing it? What's setting you back? What's going on in between your ears? What's that story that's on repeat? What are those limiting beliefs? What are those, things that we're thinking about or whatever that are preventing us from doing what we say we're going to do? And so that for me is super interesting. And also the major part of my coaching, people come in and, for better or for worse, like I'm known for my fitness stuff, and people come in for the workouts and they want the plan and whatever. And they come on in and I'm like, okay, well, let's unpack how you feel when you don't do week 3, day 2 workout. And what are you telling yourself? And what does that look like? And are you going MIA when you signed up for the coaching? I will find you. I will find, that's why you hire, like there's just certain things where I'm like, it's not the plan's fault. It's not anyone's fault, really. It's just like some realization and some highlighting some key areas surrounding that mindset and what we're telling ourselves and the stories and just like all that comes with it. And so that's my favorite part of it. It's my favorite part. Absolutely. And I feel like, that's the work for me as a coach too, is to continue to do that and continue to explore what that looks like and feels like for me. The imposter syndromes, the analysis paralysis, all the things where we're taking action to kind of level in our lives. I have to keep doing that work myself, to keep, showing up as a coach there. And so it's the name of the game for how I coach, and it's the name of the game for how I live.
Yeah. I just met you today, and I can already tell that I have no doubt that you would hunt someone down if they strayed from their plan.
Yeah. Hunt, I mean, like send you like an audio message and just, make sure you see it and read it, and
Hey,
just
no judgment here. Yeah. Even if you're knocking on their door, I get it.
I might, but maybe these days I get in trouble.
And maybe.
Right. Lunden, do you often feel yourself, this thought just came to me, as a transformational lifestyle coach, do you often feel yourself playing the role of like a counselor? I can imagine, I'm just trying to think, like if I wanted a lifestyle coach, I would, I'd be like, Lunden, this is what I'm struggling with. Like, I would just kind of say all the things. So is that a role that you kind of play in that role?
I mean, within reason. Yeah. So I always say it's a free space to whatever you want it, I think that's really great. And it's awesome to have that. And then of course, like not having it be that all the time, because we need to take action and we need to move forward. I work really within habits, routines, strategies, self-talk, like just kind of like the compounding effects, the little things over time. So for me, the high performing habits is really what I love. Does it turn into people sharing all that in a bag of chips, all of it? Yeah, for sure. But I know my scope of practice. I know what I can and cannot say, do, coach, and whatever. And with that being said, I have some awesome team of, a network of doctors and therapists and people that I love to call in, because for me, it's super interesting too. So it's like, even if I get to a point where I'm like, hey, I so appreciate you trusting me to share this information with me, but let's think about, further testing in this area that's, I don't do, or let's talk about talking to someone in this area. And it's nice because then we really create that, either that triad or sometimes a group of people in that team where I'm learning and growing and being in that experience and being part of that and being a team player. So I usually say, like, I'm right there with you. Like, you look over, like I'm right there with you, so it's not a matter of me always needing to be the one that's changing all the things and having all the answers, because my scope of practice is limited to what I'm educated on and what I feel good coaching on. But I love the experience of then bringing in other people and learning and growing, being by my client side. So when it comes to like lifestyle transformation, it's that hold, and it's that teamwork, and it's that safe space to let it all out. But, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not a doctor. So I'm very quick to pull in my team of people to kind of pick their brains a little bit. It's fun.
That's super smart, because Deb and I have talked before about how sometimes when people, whether it's a coach or teacher, whatever it may be, someone who's in that role of helping people or instructing people, sometimes they do get those stories from people and like the intention is good and they want to help people. And so they try their very best to give them an answer that they think will work. But sometimes the best thing you can do is say, hey, like just like you said, I don't have expertise in this area. So let me connect you with someone who does. And it's like, you're still doing a great thing. You just may not be the one who's doing it. So I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people do, like people in your position do feel sometimes that pressure, or maybe it's not pressure, maybe it's just such a desire to help someone that they feel like they're the ones that need to do it. And a lot of times that's not the most helpful thing in that situation when you have connections to people who are way more, knowledgeable about whatever they're going through.
Yeah, I just think, I'm not the greatest in the world. You know what I mean? And I think there's definitely something to be said, and it takes a village, it takes a tribe for a lot of things. And so I feel like it's my job too, as the life coach, to help people build that tribe, to look around and be like, okay, who's in your corner? When you're coming back in that, from, the fight or being in the arena, showing up, like who's in your corner? Like, I'll be there for you, but I'm just one person. Like, I can't do all the things. So let's like make sure that we have and cultivate that team and that tribe and that good feeling. And it's like you said, yeah, I have to, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great motto. Absolutely. Lunden, I want to go back in time just a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about your time in Austria. So so just tell our audience, because it was for Adidas Runtastic, right? That's why you were there.
Yeah. So I started working with an app that was called Runtastic. Yeah. And then about 3 years into my move, they got acquired by Adidas, and now they're Adidas training, Adidas running.
Wow. Okay. And then how long were you in Austria for? And then, what's funny is, sorry, before you answer that question, this whole time I'm like, in my head, I'm like, did she speak English the whole time there? Did she learn their language? And then today I saw you on your story speaking a different language, and I was like, oh my gosh, that just answered my question.
And I just started doing that too. Yeah. German. We speak an Austrian dialect of German in Austria.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah. I was there for 6 years. My first winter in California in 6 years.
Wow. I was going to say,
I know. It's so beautiful. I'm looking at the sun.
Yeah.
You can't tell by the glow on my face. I'm looking at the sun. I can't even, like some people, that a lot of friends in Chicago, New York, and I get it. It's cold, it's hard, but I had it for 6 years. So
I want no part of that. I'm good with California winters.
California girls. I remember, but even back then, I remember following you and seeing all like your burpee parties and all like the fitness stuff you were doing.
I'm sorry, what's a burpee party?
Oh,
that sounds awful.
I know, it's the thing you love to hate. It's the thing you love to hate. So the burpee party. Okay. So this is how the burpee party started. I moved to Austria. I started working for Runtastic. I was the in-house trainer, like fitness coach. And I built their training plans for their app. So when I first started, we came out with this body weight training app. At the time it was called Runtastic Results. Now it's called Adidas Training. Plug there. We built a 12-week training plan, and we tested it all out on like 200 plus employees, right? And we got vacation days for completing the plan. So everybody was in the 5th level, the top floor of a parking garage that was connected to our building, working out. I think it was like 3 days a week. So we'd all kind of show up there. Okay. So then they filled out feedback, 200 people, every single workout had feedback. So I had to go through all the feedback of everybody. I got to, it was great. Right. But it's a lot of open-ended questions and reading stuff and hours of feedback. And so of course, the overwhelming opinion was that everybody loved burpees, right? So they I hated the burpees, too many burpees. I was tired, that and the lunges. People didn't like the lunges. So I was like, okay, well, what do I know how to do best? Celebrate the things we hate, change the vibe, change the perspective. Let's have a burpee party. So it basically just was the name because of that. It was an outdoor workout event that started to be like an internal thing just for employees at Runtastic. And then people all over the city and kind of the little area would come, and we would do it once a month, and it was outside. It was just a body weight training workout, but we always did burpees. So whatever workout we did at the end, we do like a little burpee burnout, but it wasn't burpees the whole time. But we just do a bunch of different variety of stuff. And so that was the outdoor workouts that she was talking about, the burpee parties.
Got it. Okay. That's where my mind went, was burpees the whole time. Like, oh, that's interesting. I'm glad I don't live there. So.
Yay, I'm glad I don't live there.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
So, London, so that transition from Runtastic to what you do now as a lifestyle transformation coach, what was that like? And then why did you decide to transition to do that?
Yeah, that was major. That was super major because at Runtastic, I started their YouTube channel, made weekly videos for them on YouTube, did a lot of their content. And then we did these live workout parties. So it was like a burpee party on steroids, a DJ live, live audience, anywhere from 500 to the most we had was 1,100 people in front of like monumental buildings all over Europe. We did one in Japan, like so dope, super fun. So I was just like, that was my identity. That's who I was. I was Lunden, Runtastic fitness coach. I was in a different country like every month. I was just go, go, go all the time. And so that transition was huge because I had to choose to say like, okay, I want to do something different. I want to be, moving forward, quite frankly, like I don't want a boss. I want to have my own schedule. I want to, I feel like I gave a lot, I learned a lot, and it was just like time to move on. Plus I wanted to be able to visit my family whenever I want. That's my why in business, because I want to be able to visit my family whenever I want, work from anywhere in the world and make maximum impact with my God-given purpose. Like I repeat that in my head a million times. Like that's what I want for my life. And so it got to a point where like, I didn't want to have to ask for vacation days off. The company had went from being like a small startup to being like super big. We were growing hundreds of millions of downloads, got acquired by Adidas, all these things. So like, quite frankly, just like the rules and structure and like whatever, I just wasn't like in it anymore. And it was a really relaxed place to work too. So I just knew it was for me, like it just was time to move on. And so the initial transition, the first year was pretty like easy because we still did events. I wasn't working for the company anymore. I started my online coaching business, but we still did the events. I was still creating content. That was all great. And then when COVID and everything started, then I wanted to come back to America, of course. So we basically ended everything, because they were like, we want someone that's local. They were like, to be honest, like there was a lot of younger people that they were using to create content, like to meet their audience, which is like, no problem. It's like, there was just like a disconnect of who Lunden, the Runtastic fitness coach was and where everybody, the brand and everything was going. So that for me, I would say even the second year of leaving was even harder because we signed a contract to end everything, 8 years of blood, sweat and tears. And I remember having the little GoPro making videos before GoPros even had a screen to see what you were filming. And so it was just like, I feel like after that second year of like us not doing anything, so all of pretty much 2020 and then coming into this year, it was like a Rolodex of all the things. And come to mind, to the mindset topic, it's just like, who are you? Like what is important to you and how do you want to show up as a coach? And, out of all the, the go, like, when you're slowing down, like, what does that mean for you? So that for me was a really big change. It wasn't a matter of like the job and the day to day. I mean, that was different too, because you work in an office versus now being entrepreneur, self-employed. So there's a lot to say about that. But I think the biggest thing was learning what it means to be like Lunden, in any sense of the word, outside of going all over the place, teams, audiences, whatever. And that really felt like a screeching halt. I'm not going to lie. And I think COVID added a little whipped cream and cherry on the top. And so that was, a super big, transition. And but it all started with, protecting my why. And so that's what I teach my clients. I'm like, you need a why. That's not like, I want to get healthy. Like you're going to wake up in the morning, like, I want to get healthy and press snooze and go to sleep. Like, what is a why that you're going to go to battle for? And, I always say like, get naked, like peel back the layers to like make happen for yourself. And so I think that it was a really challenging time, but a major time for me for growth. And then also like a great opportunity for me to practice what I preach in every sense of the word.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to go back to what you said about they were looking for someone younger. What the heck? We are
I
not
don't
even
know if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case. Just, I meant like things were like shifting and changing. And like, quite frankly, like, they wanted someone that was local. Like they never told me you were too old or not, too white, like nothing like this, but I could just see like the variety in the age. Like I was just looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's not me. Like we're not in alignment anymore. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't me. Yeah. So definitely nothing ever said.
Well, I got borderline protective of you. I was like, oh, heck no. London is like the most beautiful, like will always look young forever. Because if you've seen her mom, I love her whole family. If you've seen her mom, her mom looks exactly the freaking same, I swear, as when we were in kindergarten.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Like her, yeah. So you guys, like your family is just beautiful. So that's why I was like, what? They wanted someone.
No, that's
yeah,
good.
it was just a shift in like person, age group, alignment, location, just like it was done. The chapter was closed, that's what I meant.
Good. I'm just going to make a note for no one to ever bring up age on this podcast, because apparently Deb loses her mind.
Oh no, I don't care what
you are not too old.
I know, exactly.
I don't care what people say about me. I'm just like, don't call London old. Like that's just I don't anyway. So I had to just throw that out there for a second there. But
there we go. So let me ask you a question. So I'm always interested because we've had a few people on this podcast that, did similar things in the sense of they were working for a business or a corporation, and then they decided to kind of jump ship and do their own thing. So I'm always interested in what was because obviously, like you said, it can be a scary thing, a challenging thing. You might feel it's the right thing for you to do. So there's that. Sometimes you feel really confident. Other days you're like, what did I do? At what point did you feel like, was there like a moment of confirmation saying, oh, I absolutely made the right choice? I know for some people, it's like, oh, the first time I got paid to do the thing I love, I knew it was the right choice. But for you, what was that moment where you knew it's like, oh yeah, I definitely made this the best decision for my life?
I don't know if there was a specific moment where I was like, oh, that, day, that time, that whatever.
Sure.
But I can definitely say that I'm continuously reminded that was a great decision. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, as things start, humming and you go through that, whatever. And you're like, okay, I made it through this one. Okay. I'm reminded of like, that's why I did that. That's why I do what I do. That's why,
Sure.
But I think probably that first day that I didn't have to go into the office was probably really great too.
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember it specifically. Actually, I don't remember that day specifically, but I'm sure it was great. Cause I just, knowing my personality now, I'm just like, I'm sure that was a great day.
Yeah, I have no doubt. No doubt.
Especially when I'm sure you get that peaceful feeling that washes over you. It's like, I'm sure there's uncertainty, but that you just kind of know. Like
a ton of uncertainty, a ton of, am I making the right decision? It's not even like, am I making the right decision? It's like, I know I am. And despite all this feeling, I'm going to still do it anyway, and that's how it feels. It's like super sticky, uncomfortable, whatever. And it is a hard transition. You have to wear all the hats at first. You have to be confronted with all the stuff that you suck at. because you're wearing all the hats. So you're like, so it's just like, it's not easy. I don't think any people would really like choose. If you knew ahead of time, you wouldn't choose it, like no one, I took the self-help classes, I went to the seminars, whatever, like, but you don't, until you're in it, you don't really know what that, feels like. And there are ups and downs. And there's times where you're just like motivated and you're not, and you think you're a great coach and you think you're the worst. And there's just it is all over the place. It is up and down, but it's great. It's great. I like I said, there's continuously moments where I'm like, oh, that was hard, but like, that's why I'm in it. Or like, then, you have a great coaching call, or, someone finishes, a VIP, like, 6 months to a year of working with me. And you're just like, yes, like, that's why I do it, and that's a great, reminder. But there are like any embarking on any new journey or whatever, there are a lot of challenges. But I just say, like, when you have that feeling of just like, I want to, it's just like, you got to go. It's like, you don't stick your toe in and then feel if you like it, like you just jump. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome.
That's really good.
So I want to talk about your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. When did you start it, and how did you come up with the name SelfLove and Sweat? It's self-explanatory, and it's just like the episodes that I've listened to, that's exactly what it's about. You either talk about your love for running, or like, how to get into running, or, you touch on the whole self-love topic, which I love. I can talk about that all the time.
Mhm.
So when did that start? How did that get started? What inspired you to start your own podcast?
Yeah, I've always loved listening to podcasts. As soon as I found podcasts, I never stopped. I just got really into them. I listened to them all the time. So I always wanted to have a podcast. And then I worked creating a lot of content at Runtastic. I was on YouTube talking a lot. So then as podcasts started growing, people started saying, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. So it was always like in the back of my mind. So then I just decided one time to go for it. And I actually created the whole concept for the podcast under the name Do You. I wanted to be called Do You, the podcast. But then I don't know what happened. And I just I don't know. Now, actually, the other day I heard someone who has a podcast called Be You. So I was in my head, I was thinking, good choice, London. You picked something like just a little bit different. I just picked it to be, different. I don't know where it came from, but I did perks of living in Austria. Like you can go really anywhere, it's super easy. You just kind of bounce around. I went to the island of Sardinia off the coast of Italy for like 2.5 weeks. And that's where I crushed out everything for the podcast. I was like, okay, concept, I'm going to write the title. I'm going to create the graphic. I'm going to do all the stuff. and I just did all of that creatively. And then I jumped into it. And it's, like I say, the place where you're inspired to live your life unapologetically, do what sets your soul on fire, embrace your imperfections. So we talk about a wide variety of topics because I think a lot falls under the self-love and sweat category. And I just love to have conversation. It's really awesome. And then speaking of learning process and growth through a podcast, when I first started, my ex-boyfriend, he did all the podcast stuff. He's a music engineer. He did everything. He edited it, whatever. And so then when we broke up, learning to do all of that together was another learning process and another thing, I'm sure, as you guys know, to edit and upload and just master things. I was just kind of but that was another opportunity to grow and to be, to show me what I'm made of. Or I say that to my clients, show you what you're made of. And another opportunity for growth through the podcast. And so I love doing it because, as you know, we try to record stuff, on camera. It's nice. We can have it for YouTube and for other stuff later. But if I wanted to, I could be in, mismatching pajamas in the closet recording a podcast. If I wanted, I could be recording it from, our phones. There's so many possibilities to record audio and to provide more value and reach more people. And so that's what I'm mostly excited about, is because, for videos and stuff, sometimes you need good lighting or whatever, but for podcasts, it's just the fastest way from my lips to your ears, and it's fun and I love to consume them. I love the conversations of people coming on. It's it keeps growing, and it's just started. I think I have 34 episodes or something. So just getting started there and just getting lifted off. But it's fun. You guys know this. It's fun to talk when you like to talk.
For sure. For sure. Do you have a preference of writing or podcasting? If you could only choose one?
Okay. So I start talking. So I start with podcasts usually, and then any blog post or whatever, any writing that gets done either by me or somebody else listening to what I say and creating from there. So I prefer now talking. I used to prefer writing first, but now I prefer talking. And I think that's just because of the change in technology and just social media and everything. I prefer just to go for a walk and blah, 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 and then write it down later.
Makes sense. Like you said, it's super easy now. It's convenient. You can just do it right in your phone wherever you're at, and it makes it way more accessible, which is nice for sure.
Of course it's great. You guys have a great setup. I have a good microphone and setup too, but it's just nice to have kind of that accessibility to do it whenever.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes some people do it on their phone or exclusively, and you can't even tell. It's so good now.
I know. And it's exactly. And some of the tools that they have just to kind of master and even things out, and it's going through your ears in headphones. We're not playing it at Lollapalooza or any big event. It's the quality that you need to get that message and get that value in people's ears is so doable. Sure. So whenever people are I want to do a podcast, I'm start now. I wish I would have started sooner. That's my biggest regret. I didn't need a 2-week trip and a plan and whatever, but that's just so typical of me. But it's so easy, it's too easy. It's too easy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have heard so many people say that same thing. It's hey, we just do it. And they're really? It's oh yeah, open your phone, start your voice memo, record a podcast. That's it. That's it. Crazy.
That's
It's
awesome.
how it goes. It's how it goes.
Mhm.
Well, I'm very appreciative that you started that podcast because I love listening to it. And it's just like you said, it just gives people, the quality, things that you have to talk about. Like, I think that's awesome. That's the quickest way to deliver just the topics that you want to address, and you have some really good things to say about them. And even like on your stories, like I said, I've followed you over the years. You're always posting on your stories and talking on your stories about just good stuff. So like your podcast is a great way to get your content out there. And so anyway, I just want to say that I appreciate it very much.
No, awesome. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
share, a lot more in detail about like moving abroad and funny stories about breakups and times I've gone on secret missions to go see certain speakers and probably was in sketchy situations and weird Ubers. You can listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I share a lot because I like details about people's lives. I'm like, okay, like it's great that you say like be bold and do what sets your soul on fire, but like when's a moment when you got like super weird with it and just like went with it? So I share a lot of that too. And then people have found me through that, like, oh, I listened to your podcast about moving abroad. And, so it's cool to share some of those personal stories on there as well. And I really like it. And it's just kind of cool to see who kind of comes in from where. It's another medium,
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We
We follow you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Deb.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. We do this. We talk over each other all the time.
Your turn.
Every-
Voice
The joys
You
of
go.
Zoom. I hate it so much, but no. So obviously we follow you on social media and all of that stuff. And so even though I just met you today, it feels like I know a little bit about you. And it was obvious that you have a ton of energy from social media. But I think, as we all know, like when you're trying to put content out there, like social media can just be draining sometimes. So like, how do you do a social media? Is it a difficult thing, or do you find it pretty easy? Because it seems like you do such a good job of posting. When I look at it, I'm like, dang, I'm exhausted just watching all the stuff she does. But for you, you may just love it. I don't know. Where do you stand with all that social media stuff?
Yeah. I feel like the way you described it is how I feel about it. Cause it's just like,
Okay, there you go. Got my answer. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I have consciously and like intentionally done a really good job at having a healthy relationship with it, and understanding the filters in all sense of the word, and knowing, the mission and the message that I have to share. Yeah, it does sometimes get a little bit, it is a lot. Now I don't do it by myself. Now I have a team of people that help me just to make sure that like it is a space where people can come and get value and things are working and information is correct and messages are answered and all those different types of things. And who also help me like creatively be like, okay, Lunden, we're going to take these videos and we're going to, listen to all of them. And we're going to all write down our favorite quotes of what you said. Okay, let's turn those into graphics. So like now it's nice because I have people that can help and that, believe in what we're doing and what we're going after. And so that's really helpful. Also, just, with any business venture and any entrepreneur and any you have to continue to seek that clarity. So like, I know what I'm going to be talking about month over month. I know what programs and things are happening, what coaching services I'm going to have and offer. And I also know when I want to have vacation and when I don't want to be on anything. So I'll pre-record stuff and make sure that things are done in that sense. So in the sense of now using, the tools that I know and have, and I teach on to get more done in less time and, be able to get to a point where you can outsource things and help. I still write every single caption, any word that comes out anywhere for my newsletter, anything comes from me, like from my fingers, but it's nice to have that help and support when it comes to making sure things get posted, things are answered, messages are sent, links are sent, messages are followed up with, and things like that. So, and with that being said, like social media is my office. Like that's where I work. Like that's where I am. That's where I show up. That's where I connect. That's where, my clients find me and I find them. And, where we get to see what's going on with Deborah and what you guys are doing, it's like a great space. So, yeah, but it's very like, I know the value of it and I know the danger of it. So I make sure that, I don't get my phone in the morning before I've prayed, meditated, drank water, loved on my body. Like, no, don't even go there. I make sure that, there's not copious amount of time spent unintentionally in areas, scrolling, whatever, doing all those types of things. I make sure that, I just have really clear boundaries in that space. And then also like a really clear setup, because it's not just fun for me. Like I have a message, I have a mission, and it's like my job, it's my career, so I don't go based on like spontaneous how I'm feeling that day, because there are times when I'm feeling great and tired and more energy or not.
Sure.
For the most part, stories, I'm like pretty much on day or day out. But if I'm having a day or I'm traveling or whatever, I have plenty of thousands of exercise videos that can just, be posted and put out there. So it's most important. I'm putting value, and people's lives are getting changed, even if it's just one person, but not at the expense of me, feeling overwhelmed and all consumed and in that comparison trap. And I actively talk about that and seek relationships around me to make sure that like I am not in that at all. It's very important for me.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
great.
awesome.
That's great.
No, it sounds like you have a pretty good balance with all of that. That's a really good,
Mhm.
like, it's a good reminder for me too. Like when you said, like, before I get out of bed, like no phone, I make sure I take care of me. Oh my God. I did, like, when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm pretty sure I rolled over bed and looked at my phone. Like that's the first thing I did this morning. Like I do that. That's the first thing I do sometimes. It's so bad. And so it's not, it's refreshing to hear from from you or from anyone who says it, like, nope, no phone for at least 10 minutes, like something, right? To give yourself.
It's like some people do it before their feet even hit the ground. So sometimes I tell people like, okay, at least get your butt out of bed before, like put your feet on the ground before your fingers start going. And that feeling, you open up your phone, you open up Instagram, whatever, you get this like, coffee does it sometimes for some people,
Sure.
and it's like, I want to make sure that oomph comes from like reverence for life. Like I'm awake, breathing, like moving, like how can I kind of cultivate that at least, a bit on my own before we're seeking outside validation? Because it's very real. Like I've even said this or thought about it before, like that could go away. Like Instagram, could be wiped out. All this stuff could really go away at any point, so that cannot be my source of like, quite frankly, anything, it's like, I still have to make sure I'm collected, we have email addresses and now even phone numbers now, because you just like never know like what's going to happen with people and, and what's going to happen with social media and how we're going to connect with people or whatever. So it's just like, if it's not something that, at any given time can just be like taken away, it does not deserve my first, moments there in the morning. And it's tough, we have got these habits and routines. It's not like you wake up and you're like, I'm gonna, it's just like it's where our body's there. Our mind is just like taking us. It's just autopilot. And it just takes, and that's what I work with my clients on. It just takes those like moments of awareness and then stopping the record like every time until something else becomes a habit. And you're just kind of onto that new song, that new story, that new whatever morning routine in this case of not, touching your phone and going there. But just takes, like you said, that awareness and have it like, oh yeah, maybe tomorrow you don't do it, and the next day you don't, and then the third day you do, but then the fourth day you don't, and you just kind of get moving more towards the direction of mostly not. It's just better, that reaction mode is real, and we see it, and we think we've got to go and perform and post, and it's like, wake up, good morning.
Yeah. That's
like
good.
get your mind in the right place for sure. Lunden, something that when we talk to guests and we've talked about the word being obsessed with what you do. Josh, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like when we've talked like Kevin Bracey, like it sounds like, and in a good way, right? So we've talked about guests, like anything you're passionate about, you kind of have to be obsessed with it just to kind of, to make it your life and to love on it in a healthy way, do you feel that is true for you? Just because it seems like every, podcast, and then you have your clients, and then, you're doing content on your Instagram. It's almost like you have to be obsessed with wanting to help people with their, transformation with their lifestyle. So do you think that holds true for you? Yeah.
I don't know, because I mean, obviously we didn't prepare for any of the questions, so it's not, I don't care, but I just like, I don't know if obsessed is the right word I want to choose or go with, but for now, like I love what I do. I wake up super excited because I know where I was before I had some of these tools and strategies and mindset shifts. And I like can't imagine where I would be without a lot of the coaches, you know, because I'm not a product of just myself. You know, I had a lot of coaching, and I still to this day, you know, have a ton of coaches and a lot of people that, you know, I seek advice and mentorship and stuff like that, you know, from. And yeah, I love it. It's great. It's like I can't imagine, let's say it like this. I can't imagine doing anything else except for like, no, actually I can't imagine doing anything else except for like, if I had created some programs and they were just kind of like running themselves and like, you know, my time wasn't as needed, that would be like kind of the future that I would love to see a lot more. Not because I don't want to spend more time. It's just like, when you think about like entrepreneurship, retirement, and kind of what that looks like in the online space or whatever, like I would still continue to create stuff, but I think at some point I might not be so obsessed with being like all up in the conversation all the time, if that makes sense. But right now I just love it. I love, you know, going full force and just kind of learning and growing and connecting. And I just feel like I just continue to meet really, really great people in the process, and people who are a lot smarter than me too, which is great. And I just feel like I said, I don't know if obsessed is the word, but I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you're very open to evolving. You know how like you evolved from, you know, Runtastic to your why changes. So I feel like, is this true too? Like, I also feel like if your why changes, you would have no problem being like, all right, let's switch it up again. Let me try this or add to it or something. It seems like
yeah.
That.
Yeah, if we need to make a shift, if priorities change or things change, you know, I think that your why should hold some clout. But if like, you know, a different season in your life, a different chapter requires either like I said, defending your why or even shifting what that is, totally. I've gotten comfortable being uncomfortable. I've gotten excited about change. Change can be a very uncomfortable space, and yeah, rightfully, you know, so we only know what we know. And when it comes time to shift and change, that can be, really trippy and really scary for a lot of people, which is why I do what I do too, is to help make that change, sustainable and kind of real life there. And so, yeah, I'm open to change and growth and that evolution process, as you called it. Because like I said, when you get stuck in thinking that like, okay, this is the way that we do it, and this is the way that I know, and there's no room for growth or evolution or changing or whatever, then like, that's when you suck as a coach. Like, that's what I'll say. Like, I would suck as a coach if I wasn't doing that, you know, because I'm like, what else do you talk about? You just continue to talk about the experiences and what you're going through. And, you know, as different things, you know, stress and fear and frustration might look like this in your 20s and this in your 30s and this in another space, you know? So I'm very open to it, because that's the key to longevity in what I do. You know, I can't be stagnant, or like what I do will be stagnant and it'll be very obvious, you know? I can't like hide.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I don't want to, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I feel like something you said too about being, you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? I think is something that's really important for people who are successful, because I think when you have that mindset and you are put into a uncomfortable situation, I think there's less time between being uncomfortable and then getting comfortable with whatever that new venture is, right? Where if you are someone who's more uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, right? You have to get comfortable again. And it's like, there's a longer span of time that goes between what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to get comfortable with. So I always just felt like the people that are most successful just accept that, hey, on this journey that I'm in, I'm going to be uncomfortable, and that's cool. I'm okay with that.
Discomfort is part of the game.
Right.
Discomfort like builds character. Discomfort is like what gives us our stories to share and to relate. We need to relate through our struggles, through our pain, through our situations, you know? And so, it's just really so important. So important.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Love it. Lunden, I can totally talk to you for 5 more hours. Is that okay? You haven't?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah. You're not busy, right?
I don't got nothing to do.
Yeah,
My voice might go out at some point because I've been talking on Clubhouse since like 6 a.m. But I'm here for it. I'll just we'll just come back again.
Yeah. Yeah. London, we just want to be respectful of your time. And
All
just
good.
kind of, yeah, no, this has been so great. Thank you
awesome.
so much for coming on and just, unpacking all those questions that we asked very quickly. And we definitely want you back on in the future if that's something that you'd be interested in, not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you guys again. Of
Oh my gosh.
course.
You could
It's
say
so
no
fun.
too. It won't hurt our feelings. If you're just
I
like,
know.
nah, I'm done. I'm not doing this again.
You know
I
what?
get it.
I'm really good at setting boundaries. I have no problem with the word no. So
Oh,
I'm throwing a yes because
Oh,
it's not every day I get to hang out and talk with you guys. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And then, so before we get out of here, we ask all of our guests on the Connectable podcast. So at the beginning, we tell our guests how we're connected to you. And then at the end, we want to know if you want to throw something out there for someone or something for our guests to be connected to, like an organization, a person, or what have you. And if they have an Instagram handle or Facebook or whatever, that you can kind of push our guests towards. So if you have someone that you'd like to connect our guests with, go for it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such a great question. I've never, ever been asked that question on any interview. So this is cool. I would choose Jana Short. She's at Best Holistic Life on Instagram. She is a mentor coach. I call her mom. She's like a second mom to me. I love her. She changed my life. Her story is just like, oh my gosh, she, was told that she was going to die, to pack up all her, stuff, go home, say her goodbyes, all the things, turned her life around, built a amazing coaching, holistic coaching, neurolinguistic programming business, helps, entrepreneurs build their brands. She has a magazine, does all this great stuff. So she's just a true example of it's never too late to start. And she just embodies confidence for me as a woman, in all sense of the word. So, Jana Short, I love her. I'm actually going to be with her in 5 days. She's part of a little mastermind that I put together for coaches I work with or people I've coached, and we all come together. There's going to be 5 of us to create content. Speaking of creating content, motivate each other, give each other ideas, give each other feedback. Be in each other's podcasts, be in each other's videos, strategize, but then also help each other rationalize that you're still doing great. You're all good. So we need those people, those anchors with us too. So she's a very solid anchor for me. I love her dearly, and everything she puts out there. She has a podcast too, is just pure goodness. So Jana Short, Best Holistic Life. That's who I would choose.
What's her podcast called?
It's called Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. It's like chicken soup for the soul with people that have had crazy tragedies. Nice. Oh My Health, There Is Hope.
Oh My Health, There Is
Awesome.
Hope. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Lunden. Again, this was a treat.
Thank you very much. It was awesome.
So glad to reconnect with you this way and see you at that wedding a few months ago. That was so fun. I haven't seen Lunden physically in person in forever, Josh. You don't even know.
And we danced. We broke it down all night.
No.
You would have been so proud.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. It was such a fun
awesome.
wedding, and it was even better to see you there. So anytime you guys want to have me back and talk again, I'd be happy to be here, you guys. Totally.
Much appreciated.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Did we say where we can follow you? Did we already do that?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. See,
Come on,
I'm not
Dad.
a good opener or closer, Lunden. Yeah, so I apologize.
Sorry, Lunden. We're trying our
too.
best. There's only so much I can do.
was just talking to you guys. I didn't think anyone cared to follow me. I just was talking.
I know. What the heck?
Life Like Lunden. LifeLikeLunden. Everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, all the things. And then, of course, the podcast is SelfLove and Sweat. So
perfect. Make sure you guys definitely check that out. Like I said before, she posts a lot of great content, and it will definitely inspire and motivate you for sure. So make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at Connectable Podcast, Twitter at Connectable Pod, Facebook at Connectable Podcast, and also on YouTube at Connectable Podcast. And then make sure you go to any of your favorite podcast platforms to download the audio as well. So that's what we've got.
Give Lunden a follow and give her podcast some love too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
thank you guys.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Lunden.
Thank you, Lunden. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.